Dirt spewed from under the wheels of a Suzuki motocross bike as it hit the base of a jump. Twisted metal, a combustion engine, and one courageous rider soared into the air like a free-flying bird. You could cut the tension in the crowd with a knife as the bike awkwardly whipped to the side. The same thought played through every audience member's mind. Is he actually going to be able to correct the bike at the last minute? For a moment in time, Kuraudo Cloud Toda was frozen above the roaring crowd. Floating over the dirt of a motocross track was where he belonged, and as you're about to find out, nothing would stop Toda from achieving his dreams. The stunned silence of the crowd quickly turned to screams of relief and amazement as Toda skillfully whipped the bike through the air, smoothly coming down on the other side of the jump. It was Toda's fate to be soaring above the clouds, as though he were born for it. But, as fate would have it, he was destined to die here too. Join us as we unveil the catastrophic details of Toda's life and death. What really happened in the final moments of this talented motocross rider's life? It's unclear at what age Toda climbed behind the handlebars of a bike, but it is clear that the dirt of the track truly ran through his blood. Everyone who knew him spoke of his humble nature, skill on the bike, and undying passion for motocross. Not much could get in the way of his desire to keep on flying high, entertaining crowds, and pushing himself to the absolute limits behind a roaring dirt bike. It's no wonder that he earned the nickname Cloud. It seemed like he spent more of his time in the air than he did on the ground. And while the world was robbed of an enduring spirit far too soon, Toda filled his life with his passion and kept going no matter what obstacles rose in his way. Toda's tragic incident was not the first time he looked death in the eye. 7 years before his horrifying final moments, he was involved in a test crash that would change the course of his life forever. Most of his success and fame were gained racing through America in the early 2000s. Up until this point, Toda had raced in the All Japan Nationals as well as AMA Supercross and motocross events. He got involved in freestyle motocross, since nothing matches the thrill of flipping a 240-pound dirt bike over gravity-defying leaps. In 2008, while testing Suzuki factory bikes, Toda suffered from a near-fatal crash, breaking almost every single bone in his body, including his T5 vertebrae. The T1 to T5 vertebrae running along your spine affect your upper chest, mid-back, and abdominal muscles, as well as your trunk and lower legs. This means that an injury here could leave you paralyzed for the rest of your life. And unfortunately, this was the devastating injury that Toda faced. Once all his broken bones had healed, Toda was left with a cruel reminder of life's unpredictable nature: paralysis from the chest down. What crushed Toda more than the inability to walk was the fact that he may never taste the sweet thrill of defying gravity on a motocross track. He knew he could not live with the regret of never getting back on the bike, so he began training with every bit of his willpower. There was nothing that would hold Toda back from floating between jumps, not even paralysis. The saddening interviews during his recovery show his true persevering spirit. He knew he would get back on the bike again, no matter the cost. Toda's determination to overcome his injury has forever cast him as a symbol of willpower and resilience in the motocross world. As you can imagine, the journey to get on the motocross track was long and arduous. It started with a simple research paper that Toda found. It detailed the training necessary to regain his muscle mobility after a spine injury and hopefully get behind the handlebars of a Suzuki once again. Everything in Toda's life became about fixing his injury. With the help of his father, he committed himself to 7 hours of intense physiotherapy and constant exercise. By 2013, Toda's resilience and determination had made his impossible goal a reality. He was back on the track and slowly teaching himself how to handle a bike. Except this time, there were new challenges for him to overcome. According to most motocross riders, your core muscles are the most important for control. Without these, it becomes very difficult to keep the ferocious dirt bike in check. But Toda still persevered, and by 2014, he was drifting through corners and speeding over jumps like a natural. He seemed unfazed by the fact that he would never walk again, as long as he could chase the thrill of adrenaline on a motocross bike. A modified Suzuki RM Z450 enabled Toda to safely ride around the track. His close friends and family assisted with the modifications. It included a safety bar and straps to keep him in place, as well as hand-operated controls, so he could easily change gears without the use of his legs. Unfortunately, these modifications and Toda's inability to walk would be the fatal flaws that led to his demise. On December 29, 2015, Kuraudo Cloud Toda's story of triumph turned into a tragedy. Toda had set another massive goal for himself. He was going to compete in the best whip contest in the famed X Games. All he needed to do was get good enough at the whip to earn himself an invite. He had overcome the impossible once, so why not do it again? In motocross, the whip is a stylish move that enables riders to land a jump smoothly, especially if they overshoot their mark. On this day at the 774 compound near Tokyo, Japan, Toda was religiously practicing his whip from a 78-foot jump into a foam pit. Jump after jump saw him landing successfully. With each successful whip, everyone, including Toda, became more relaxed and confident in his abilities. Then came the moment of his final jump. Toda accelerated through the ramp as he'd done thousands of times before. Fumes shot out his exhaust as the bike gracefully lifted off the ground. With only the use of his upper body, Toda whipped the bike to the side, skillfully cutting through the air. Friends and family gathered there on that day must have been overjoyed at the rider's unbelievable recovery and his ability to continue riding without the use of his legs. At the last moment, he corrected the bike, facing the wheels to the ground to simulate a smooth landing. It was perfect. The bike came down without a hitch, having its fall broken by the soft foam in the pit. One can imagine Toda's immense pride in this moment, knowing how far he had come and how far he still aimed to go. Then, the unthinkable happened. The soft foam that was meant to protect Toda turned into the nemesis that would destroy him. The combination of the hot engine, fuel, and flammable foam started a raging fire that could not be quelled. Still strapped to his bike, all Toda could do was watch as everything around him went up in flames. Friends and family watched in horror as the fiery blaze engulfed the foam pit. By the time they got to him, the heat of the flames was too intense for anyone to even get near. Toda had a survivor's spirit, an indomitable will to live that likely kicked in during his last moments, but he was strapped to his bike, trapped, and unable to get out of the foam pit. There was no getting away from this cruel fate. Kuraudo Cloud Toda died fighting for his life. The fight began long before his fatal last seconds in the foam pit. Toda fought to have the life he was passionate about, even if it meant dying doing what he loved. Life is tough and unpredictable, but Toda's resilience meant that nothing would stop him from achieving what he set his mind to. One can only imagine the pain Toda's friends and family felt on that day. He was admired for his fearless nature and adventurous spirit, and there's no telling what kind of impact he left on those that he touched. His remarkable comeback was marred by a brutal and unnecessary catastrophe. But this doesn't mean he left the world without leaving behind some positive outcomes. Everyone who's heard of Toda knows he was a testament to undying perseverance. No matter how many times life knocked Toda down, he was still willing to get back up and keep going, even if that meant he was in a wheelchair. Freestyle motocross would not be where it is without foam pits, but everyone in the industry learned a lesson that day. You can't become complacent with safety. Even things built to protect us can pose a danger if we're not careful. Since then, stricter regulations have been created around foam pit safety. Many constructors now use less flammable materials, as well as dousing the foam with non-combustible liquids. These changes will hopefully ensure a tragedy like this never takes place again in the world of motocross. The time between Toda's spinal injury and his death was 7 years. During this time, he kept moving forward with determination, no matter how tough it got. Toda kept fighting for his passion. There are many questions we can ask about that tragic day, but sometimes it is better to leave a legend in peace. Kuraudo Cloud Toda will always be remembered for his humble nature and indomitable spirit. If there is one lesson you can take from this, it's that you can keep going, no matter what life throws at you.